I think I have made it, I have referred to the appeals that have been made to the leaders by leaders such as President, former Head of State, General Gowon, religious leaders, traditional leaders, with regard to the sanctions on Niger. It is on purely humanitarian grounds that the leaders have deemed it important and necessary to lift the sanctions, especially as we are in the Lent period and we are approaching the holy month of Ramadan. The people and the interest of the people is what has informed the decision of the leaders to lift the sanctions, because as you know, although it is not the intention of the leaders, sanctions do affect citizens in one way or another, and the leaders deem it important to really take measures that will alleviate any possible suffering for the ordinary person. So it is on humanitarian grounds that the leaders have taken this decision. As I said, ECOWAS remains committed to its zero tolerance for unconstitutional change of government. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, sir. I am Princess Equation's withdrawal of the 3 countries from...
Let me make it very clear. What I have listed is not exhaustive. Political sanctions have not been lifted. Border closures have been lifted, and commercial sanctions have been lifted. But there are targeted sanctions as well as political sanctions that remain in force. Thank you.
Hi, I wasn't clear. Is it just Niger that the sanctions have been lifted on? And can I also ask a question about Senegal? Have you effectively welcomed Macky Sall back into the fold, and is that all in the past now, all the problems in Senegal?
I think our sanctions regime should be assessed correctly. The list I have given relates mainly to Niger, because all the other countries still have political sanctions on them. So the border closures, the commercial sanctions and all that are on Niger, and that is what the leaders have decided to lift. But individual sanctions as well as political sanctions remain in place in Niger. Now, for other countries, political sanctions remain. That is the limited ability to attend ECOWAS summits as well as ministerial sessions. Now, regarding Senegal, the leaders have taken note of President Macky Sall's, the end of President Macky Sall's term of office on the 2nd of April, and appeals to all stakeholders in Senegal to give priority to dialogue so that they can have free, fair, and inclusive elections. It's a reality. We all travel freely within the sub-region, and we trade freely among ourselves. So that reality is there. ECOWAS, therefore, does not see another grouping as a threat. In addition to the alliance, you have many other smaller groupings within ECOWAS. You have UEMOA, you have Mano River Union, you have the other smaller functional organizations dealing with specific matters. Entente Cordiale and all that. You do have, there is another organization, I've just forgotten the name, I beg your pardon, the Entente. And these are institutions that serve specific purposes within ECOWAS. So they are not in competition with ECOWAS. We don't see any organization as in competition with ECOWAS. We think we can complement each other. We just need to coordinate properly.
Good afternoon, sir.
As I have said, let me repeat again. There is an array of sanctions. Some have been lifted, others have not been lifted. Not all sanctions have been lifted. You have political sanctions that are in place. You have individual sanctions that are in place. We felt there are certain sanctions that affect the common person a bit more, and the leaders on humanitarian grounds have deemed it important and necessary to remove those sanctions.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. My name is Stephen Angulu. I write for the Punch newspapers. My question is about the alliances that these nations have built within the time they've been away and been.
ECOWAS does not see any outfit as competitors or competing against ECOWAS. What we frown up against is anything from outside that will destabilize the region and affect the unity of the region. ECOWAS does not accept that, but ECOWAS welcomes any partnership that promotes our development and our unity. As you know, we are working towards an ECOWAS single currency, but we are not yet there. So for now, there is no single ECOWAS currency we can talk about, let alone a link of that currency to another central bank. It is an objective to have our own single currency, but we have yet to get there. Regarding unconstitutional behavior, I think I have made it very clear, ECOWAS stands against unconstitutional behavior, whether perpetrated by military or non-military individuals. That is the position of ECOWAS. I think human rights is extremely important to ECOWAS and to ECOWAS member states and to ECOWAS leaders. And the subject is discussed regularly, perhaps maybe not as prominently as you may have wished. But I can assure you that even this discussion we are having on constitutional change of government covers elements of human rights of citizens. And this is why ECOWAS insists on constitutionalism, ECOWAS insists on rule of law, because these sit at the heart of human rights defense and human rights protection.
Thank you, Your Excellency. We've come to the end of the press conference.